We all want to succeed. We want to push our limits and do something great. But what if that very drive, that ambition, is actually what's leading us straight into exhaustion and burnout? It's this weird paradox of modern life. But today, in this explainer, we're going to unpack a better, more sustainable way to get to the very top of your game. Okay, let's dive right in.
So let's start with two stories. On one side, you've got this teenage running prodigy. By 18, he was one of the fastest high school milers in US history, just totally fueled by this obsessive all-or-nothing discipline. On the other side, a brilliant young consultant. Get this, before he even turned 24, he'd built an economic model that the White House was using, and it was advising the president. Two absolute rising stars, right? Seemed like they were destined for greatness.
They had it all going for them. The talent, the drive, that incredible early success. So the natural question is, what happened? Where did they go?
Well, here is the twist. The runner, he never got any faster. The consultant, he left the White House and his career just stalled out. They both just hit a wall. As they put it themselves, they shined extremely bright, only to see their performance plateau, their health suffer, and their satisfaction wane. And here's the real kicker. These two guys are the authors of the book we're talking about today, Steve Magness and Brad Stulberg. They lived through this burnout, so they could teach the rest of us how to avoid it.
And their stories aren't some isolated incident. They're actually a symptom of a much, much bigger problem, what they call the burnout trap. And this isn't about some personal failing. It's a deep-seated cultural issue.
Let's just look at the sheer scale of this. A staggering 53% of American workers say they feel burnt out. Think about that. That is more than half of the entire workforce feeling completely depleted.
And is it any wonder that so-called 40-hour workweek, for a lot of us, it's a complete myth. The reality is actually closer to 47 hours. That's basically a whole extra workday crammed into every single week. And what about taking a break? Even when we have the chance, we don't take it. On average, American workers leave 5 vacation days on the table every single year. We are a culture that is literally just running on fumes. So this relentless grind, it's clearly not working. It's leading to plateaus, unhappiness, and just plain bad health. So it really begs the question, is there a better way to succeed without completely burning out?
Thankfully, the answer is a big yes. And the authors, they boil it down to this simple but incredibly powerful formula they call the growth equation. And this, right here, is the secret to sustainable success.
And here it is. It's so simple. Stress plus rest equals growth. The real power of this is that it's universal. Okay, think about building a bicep at the gym. You lift a weight that's challenging, right? That's the stress. And it causes these tiny micro tears in the muscle. Then you rest. And during that rest, the muscle rebuilds itself, only this time it's stronger than before. That's the growth. And this simple idea applies to everything, whether you're growing physically, mentally, or even emotionally.
And this isn't just a one-and-done thing. It's a cycle. The authors call it periodization, a term from exercise science. So first, you apply a stress that really challenges you. This actually causes a temporary dip in your performance. Then, crucially, you rest. You let your body and your mind recover and adapt. And what's the result? Growth. Your ability gets stronger, and now you're ready to handle even more stress the next time around. It's this beautiful, purposeful upward spiral.
All right, let's break this equation down, starting with that first part, stress. We really need to redefine this word. It's not about anxiety or being overwhelmed. It's about strategically creating skills from struggle. The authors capture this idea perfectly. They say growth comes at the point of resistance. We learn by pushing ourselves to the outer reaches of our abilities. So it's not about avoiding stress, it's about seeking out the right kind of stress. So the key is to find that sweet spot. The goal isn't to get totally overwhelmed. It's to find what they call just manageable challenges. These are tasks that are just a little bit beyond what you can currently do. They stretch you, but they don't break you. And that is where the magic of growth really happens. And now for the other half of the equation,
This is the part that is just as important, but way more neglected: rest. And we have to challenge our whole idea of what rest is. It's not just passive downtime. It's the active side of recovery. It's where the growth actually happens.
The Olympic marathoner Dina Castor, who had this incredibly long and successful career, she put it perfectly. She said how you treat yourself in between workouts is where you make gains and acquire the strength to attack the next one. The work is just the spark, but the rest is where the fire is built.
And hey, rest isn't just about collapsing on the couch. It's an active process. It can look like a lot of different things. Maybe it's mindfulness meditation or taking a walk in nature. It's definitely prioritizing 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep. It could even be what the authors call social recovery, just spending good quality time with friends. It's about taking real, true time off to let that growth equation do its thing.
So, we've got stress plus rest equals growth. But what fuels this whole cycle? What keeps us going when the stress gets really tough and taking a break feels, undeserved? Well, that brings us to the final and maybe the deepest layer of this whole model: the power of purpose. To understand this, just look at the story of Jennifer Pharr Davis. She was trying to set the overall speed record on the Appalachian Trail. And at this moment, she was just physically and mentally shattered. She had shin splints, she was sick, she was ready to quit. She was telling herself, there's no way I can get the record. This was her absolute rock bottom. So when she met up with her husband, who was her support crew, she told him she was done. But he reminded her, this wasn't just her attempt. It was a team effort. And this, right here, is the critical moment. Her focus completely shifted from a self-focused goal, me getting the record, to something so much bigger than herself. She said later, it wasn't about me. It wasn't about the record. It was about offering my best to my husband, my family, and to the trail community. This bigger, self-transcending purpose became her new fuel. And what happened next is just astounding. She didn't just go on to break the women's record. She shattered the overall record, which was held by a man by a full 26 hours. It just goes to show you, a purpose that's bigger than you helps you transcend the limits your own ego puts in place to protect you.
So, how do we pull all of this together for ourselves? It all starts by understanding your very own growth cycle.
So look, we've seen two paths. There's the old model of success, that relentless, never-stop grind, which we know leads to burnout. And then there's the new model, the cycle of stress plus rest, fueled by a deep sense of purpose, which leads to sustainable, meaningful growth. So the choice is really yours. What will you choose to grow?